Hello, fans, and welcome to our first inaugural First Watch segment, where we give you the Star Bros' immediate reactions to the newest Star Wars content that has just been released. And boy, we've been blessed with a beautiful one to start with, I think, Jan, and that's Chapter 9 of The Marshal. What do you think?
Yeah, it feels like we've waited a really, really long time for this one. And it could be just the fact that we were all so pumped about season one and how good it was. And it made the wait feel a little bit longer. But hey, it's here. And I don't know about you, dude. I watched it twice last night.
I've actually only gotten to see it once because I didn't get to watch until like 8 o'clock last night once I finally put my kids down, and that's unfortunately going to be a future thing for me. But I also think the pandemic is what's causing the longing for this season because there's been no new content anywhere for anything,
True.
and we've just been dying for something. And Star Wars is the best that we can wait for, at least for us.
Yeah. And, and
So
and it was one of the silver linings early on in the pandemic to get a little bit of good news at some point where uh, we as fans heard that hey they finished all the principal photography and all the heavy duty stuff before COVID really hit. So we knew
yeah,
that they could work kind of remotely on piecing together all the other things that they need to do to do final edits and special effects and add the music and things like that. We knew that we were going to get it, and it was just really worth the wait, in my opinion.
I totally agree, and it's nice to know at least what we've heard so far from Favreau that season three is not going to be delayed. That they are confident that they can do all the principal photography even in the midst of this pandemic and adhere to the guidelines that have been set forth and so forth. So I'm excited and happy to know that this season and other seasons shouldn't get derailed by what's going on. But
Yeah.
uh, let's jump into this because
Yeah.
again, as part of our first watch segment, we're going to give you just our immediate reactions to the newest episode that just got released and then future episodes that will be released. For more in-depth insight, we encourage our listeners to tune in to a future podcast episode where we will discuss in more detail what we're discussing. But today we're going to focus on Chapter 9, The Marshal. And dude, I got to tell you, it starts off with a bang. I think this is one of the best, maybe even slightly better than season one. And that's because you don't have these lingering questions of what is this going to be? Like you already
Hmm.
know what it is, and they just get
Hmm.
off and running. But I really like this. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the strongest openings, honestly, of any of the episodes that we saw in season one. I like the dangerous situation they kind of throw him in. I like how he works his way out of it. By the way, maybe since we haven't been entirely clear, hopefully you folks have picked up on this by now, but this is going to be ridden with spoilers. This
Yes.
is going to be both ridden with spoilers and with our speculations. So if that's not what you're looking for, if you haven't watched the episode yet, then hit the pause button and come back when you have. And now we'll jump back into it. But I love the Gamorrean fight scene. It just seems like sort of a grimy place.
The graffiti.
Yeah, the graffiti, right? So we were messaging with some of the Broaxium guys last night and talking about how the text of some of the graffiti, even though it's sort of like stylized, it looks like what is it called, Arabesh, where hopefully somebody is translating that now because I think they probably really thoughtfully put something in there that means something. Um, but yeah, I love the villains that you run into in that first scene. The fighting is great. Baby Yoda hitting the button on his hover pram and hiding. All that stuff was just terrific. So that got teased in the trailer. That was one of the things that we got a tiny glimpse at, and getting the full 5 minutes of the opening where there's all that action stuff right off the bat, I thought was terrific.
Yeah, totally agree. And it was nice to set the scene that the Mandalorian, after everything that he went through in season one, is still a great guy, but he's ruthless and he will stop at
Hmm.
nothing to get what he needs. I mean,
Yeah.
he leaves the guy who just tried to kill him dangling from a lamppost and lets those, I don't even know actually what those are. We'll have to find out. Those little alien dog-like
Hmm.
creatures that come out from the
Hmm.
darkness. They're freaky looking. Um, just stay in the light is what I learned from that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we got a nice little glimpse at the beginning of his ruthless character still. But then by the end of
And
this
he did
episode,
he did say, I promise you will not die by my hands.
oh, and I knew as soon as he said that he's dying, but he's
Right.
just dying another alternative
Some other
methods.
way.
Totally. But by the end of the episode, we get to know the other side of the Mandalorian again, which is I'm calling it the reluctant hero,
Yeah.
right? And that he's still this great guy underneath and at the core of who he is. So,
Yeah.
but let's get to Tatooine and everything that happened there. What were some of your favorite flashback moments, or I mean, Tatooine's a planet that we're all accustomed with as part of being a Star Wars
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, so that's where I noticed my first Easter egg, and like Ben said, we're going to do a more in-depth analysis when we get back to the podcast. But here, we're just really reacting, and so we probably missed some stuff, and that's okay. We'll get around to it. But the first thing I did notice was when R5 rolls up after the Razor Crest has landed on Tatooine. R5, who's also known as Skippy in the old Marvel comic books, who is the droid with the bad motivator who Luke and Uncle Owen almost buy in A New Hope. So it was funny to see him again.
That wasn't the Force sensitive one, was it?
That was the Force sensitive. Skippy was Force sensitive.
Skippy was. Yep, I remember this story. Oh man. Yeah, I like that one a lot. The first reaction I had was, oh good, he got his motivator fixed. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'd like that they brought back Pelimoto from season 1, which is Amy
Yeah.
Sedaris' character. She's great, and was back to her great old self. And there's that little subtle reminder of everything that happened with the droids, and the droid's face getting sucked with that vacuum was pretty hilarious too.
Yep.
So I thought it started off well, and as we'll get to later when we talk about Cobb Vanth, just real quick, he had the Anakin's pod racer. That was another fun little subtle Easter egg.
Yeah, and it's sort of like it's been beat up. It's seen better days. It's kind of pieced together.
It's just
but
one
it was
of his
recognizable. Yeah, it was recognizable. I kept thinking, like, what do I know that from? Like, that shape was really distinct. So, yeah, one of our bros at Braxium pointed out, like, yeah, that's Anakin's pod racer, and I face palmed because I was like, of course it is. Okay, very cool.
You were not the only one. I mean, it's a lot of Easter eggs jammed into an hour. We're gonna have to watch it a few times and pull out a couple more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But let's get to Cobb Vanth now. Now, I was so excited when I heard the rumor that Timothy Olyphant might be coming in here. I've liked the things that I've seen him in, which is not much actually of all of his work, but what I have seen, I do like. He's in the Good Place. He has a little cameo in season 4, which I love.
He's in The Office.
He is in The Office. That's right.
He cameos in The Office as one of the like big time sales professionals. But yeah, he's great in this, and he is part of what is a really, I think, heavily Western themed episode as the Marshal, as sort of like the guy who's the law in town. Yeah. Very interesting character for him.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but when he first popped up in the scene, I thought in my head, is this Boba Fett or somebody else? Who is this? And this is a weird thing, but I knew it wasn't Boba Fett because he looked too skinny and it looked like his jeans were baggy a little bit, I was like, that can't be him.
I think they did that on purpose. They went with, some of the baggy, like the red sweater and scarf and stuff like that. And it just like physically didn't look proportioned like Boba Fett, but gosh, that was the armor. As soon as everybody spotted that, I think there's probably gasps around the world. Yeah,
totally. I agree. And happy to see his armor back, but I think they're very curious about who is this guy. Is he good? Is he bad? What are his motivations? And they established him pretty quickly as, well, he's kind of your typical Western self-appointed sheriff in town that has a pretty good backbone. Like he's doing what he's doing for the community that he's building up there, right? He comes back and saves it using the armor. I mean, yeah, better than that. And I like how he is a little bit smarter in the sense that he's like, I know the Mandalorian can kill me, so I don't really want to pick a fight with him. So I'm going to find another way to give him what he wants and to get something in return.
Yeah, and I think their square off was really interesting, where they're the only two in that that saloon or cantina. And Cobb Vanth says something to the effect of, you want to do this right here in front of the kid, and our hero Mando basically says, well, he's seen worse.
And he's not wrong, right?
He's not wrong.
We just saw that with the Gamorrean fight, right? Yeah. The crate dragon is another big part of this episode, and that was an exciting one to see. I know a lot of fans know the crate dragon from past entries, and there's also, I believe, the skeleton that you see in New Hope is the remains of a crate dragon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So this one was really cool to see, and I don't know, I got some Tremors vibes when I saw it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Uh, I know that we've seen the skeleton before. We've heard a bit about it. One of our bros at Braxton was talking about how there were Knights of the Old Republic vibes, and I'm not sure if that's a Crate Dragon reference or not directly, but we certainly haven't seen them smashing through the mountainsides, like tearing through the desert, swallowing up like whole banthas, things like that. So,
Yeah.
pretty good, scary, menacing kind of like Monster Hunter episode is what it turns into.
Oh, totally. I really liked it. And then I just liked, trying to see how they formulated a plan to fight it, and bringing back the
Working,
Tusken Raiders.
yeah, working with the Tusken Raiders and getting to know more about them. And so I have a little bit of an edge on you here because I've watched it twice now.
Yeah.
But something that jumped out at me the second time was, I think they're sort of portrayed as being really kind of like ruthless and cruel and maybe sort of the bad guys of the
Villainous.
desert, but villainous, yeah. And when it comes down to fighting the Crate Dragon, a lot of the and I wonder if this was done on purpose. A lot of the townspeople run, and the Sand People don't. They are brave enough to stick around and keep pulling on the ropes after they've speared the Crate Dragon. And sort of stand their ground, which is pretty cool to see. So it's kind of, in my mind, it's added a dimension to their characters as, yeah, they're maybe a little bit more complicated, and they're pretty gutsy too, which makes sense. You got to be tough and gutsy to live out in the desert.
Oh, you totally do. And I like how they're willing to barter and trade in their one thing that keeps their livelihood going, which is pillaging a bit, and kind of being the villainous, ruthless kind of character.
Yeah.
All to try to get this common interest resolved, which is destroying this crate dragon. And by the end of it, once they are successful, it's interesting that they're basically stripping the meat off of this thing, and it's going to keep them alive for a long time. Even Mandalorian even leaves with a little chunk of meat.
Yeah, pretty big chunk. It's bigger than Baby Yoda.
It is. Yeah, it'll keep both of them pretty well fed for a while.
But did you catch the sort of truce that they had with the townspeople at the end?
With the pearl, or with something else?
No, it's something else. So basically, the agreement was, and I think Mando communicates this to the townspeople, probably to Cobb Vanth, but he says something to the effect of, they've agreed not to attack your town until the day comes where one of the townspeople breaks that truce. So if one of the townspeople does something to the Sand People, then the truce is over. But otherwise, they'll be safe.
Yeah,
and I get the vibe that they'll keep their word both ways. They won't attack, but boy, if somebody crosses that line, they're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see how long that holds up, and I hope it does. A little bit of parallels to our universe, but we'll get to that another time. There's one other thing, well, two other things maybe that I'll mention, and then we can wrap things up for our first watch. Cobb Vanth looks like he's coming back. I like that they ended on a good note between the Mandalorian and him, and it felt very similar to Cara Dune's character, where they said, you know what, if you need anything, I'm here for you. I hope we get the chance to work together again, because we grew pretty tight during this whole ordeal.
Yeah, and he proves himself as capable to Mando, and vice versa. They both know that they can work together well and come out alive, and in a situation like fighting a crate dragon, that alone is pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, totally. And then what we'll do at the end of every episode of First Watch, we'll end on our big question. And there's no clearer big question than the last 3, 4, 5 seconds that we get of this episode, where we see the return of Temuera Morrison, who, for those who don't know who he is, played Jango Fett in the original, or the prequels, I should say, and is the clone of all the clone troopers, is the source for all the clone troopers, including his own Boba Fett. So him returning is essentially saying, I'm Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, at the very end of the episode, the way that they sort of set up that end, I didn't think we were going to get anything else. I thought he was going to ride off into the twin sunset, and that was going to be the end, and it would have been fine. It would have been a really satisfying ending.
It would have been a perfect closing for a Western theme episode.
Yep. but I should be on my toes when it's Favreau writing and directing. And what a really great way to get people to freak out for the whole next week until the next episode is available.
Yep, exactly. So the big question that we've been left lingering with: what is Boba Fett's story since he was swallowed up by the Sarlacc pit? How did he lose his armor? How
Yeah.
did he survive the Sarlacc pit in general? And
Yeah.
what is he going to do next? Is he going after the Mandalorian? It's interesting that he didn't go after Cobb Vanth, because I would say that Cobb Vanth might have been a little bit easier to go after than the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that might have been a choice on his part to say, I'm not going to bother. But why? Why would he make that choice?
And now there might be a reason for him to get involved, because another Mandalorian has his armor.
Right.
So it should be really interesting to see what happens. I'm really excited by this. I know that longtime fans, who are especially Fett fans, are going to be really excited by the fact that he's back, because this has literally been a debate for decades of whether or not Fett is really dead.
Yeah.
So
I think well said.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in for a big surprise this next episode. I think episode 2 is going to surround the Boba Fett story the most. So
I think it's got to. I think they wouldn't have necessarily teased the introduction of Boba Fett if they didn't get right to it in the next one. And it could be still sort of distant in the next one. It could be that because Mando doesn't know that he's there, but now Boba knows that there is another Mandalorian, and you could follow him around a little bit, kind of stalk him and try to get a good read on him. Who knows? He could be sort of lingering in the background. I don't know. We'll see. But we've got other characters that we're also looking forward to reintroducing, I should say. So Grief Karga, Cara Dune. It could be that this season is Mando, Baby Yoda, Grief Karga, Cara Dune, Cobb Vanth, and Boba Fett running around together, which would be pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what they're doing with this character. And this one was the one where there's been a lot of speculation about who's going to be in this season, but this is the one where Tamora Morrison's agent. Did you see this?
No.
His town agency that manages his career accidentally posted on their website that this was part of his resume. Probably about a month ago, and then took it down really quickly. But that was enough for our rabid Star Wars fans to go bananas. So it's nice to see that confirmed.
Well, and it's nice because there were probably 3 big rumors going into this. Timothy Olyphant being one, Tamora Morrison being the other, and then of course is Ahsoka coming back.
Yeah.
And so we're 2 out of 3 so far. We'll see if the third one is going to be confirmed at another episode, which I think if it's going to be confirmed, we need to hold our breath a little bit. Not hold our breath. It's going to be episode 5 or 6 by the time that we see her. Personally,
I see.
That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I'm still like, I'm very much a skeptic when it comes to all of this stuff. Thus far, I've been proven wrong with Timothy Olyphant. I could see them bringing Boba Fett back. I was kind of on the fence about that. Then we got the leak with Tamora Morrison. But I'm still kind of like wringing my hands, wondering if the Rosario Dawson thing is true. But hey, there's got that must have come from somewhere, right? And that's really got legs. And so we'll see. But I think you're probably right. I don't think they're gonna unveil all of these surprises in the first couple of episodes. I think it's going to be drawn out throughout the season.
Yep, totally agree. And it's important to remember to not get overly invested in any of these rumors, because what if any of them isn't true? And what if it doesn't really pan out the way you wanted it to? So make sure, if anything, that we keep our theories in check, but keep hope up, keep our excitement up, and let that play out. So any parting words, Jan, before we close our first watch?
No, I just thank you guys for listening. We'd love to hear what you thought about the first episode and what you think might be coming next. So hit us up on Twitter at Starbros Podcast, or send us an email, thestarbrospodcast@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook. And connect with us. Let us know what you think, and let us know where you think we're going.
Yes, and don't forget, this is the way.